This table that you're looking at was made from repurposed wood and a slice of my neighbor's tree that she had downed a couple of years ago. A few pieces of hardware and some finishing material, and not bad, I'd say. I have several of these slabs and I've had them for quite a while now. I'd say 2 or 3 years. And I finally decided to make use of one of them. The first thing I had to do was flatten it out with my DIY flattening sled. They're easy enough to make. There's a video on how to make it on my channel. The next thing that I wanted to do for this tabletop was to make legs. Here we're starting out with marking the positions for the dowels that I plan on using to create the joinery. I know there are simpler methods to this, but I wanted to try it this way to see how much accurate I could get these joints to line up and assemble. I can tell you that cutting these holes on the drill press is not a faster method, but it's a more satisfying method, I believe. I think I have better accuracy, and I just enjoy using my drill press. I don't seem to use it enough. I could use a better wood chip management system. Well, of course, you might call it just a vacuum and a hose sticking up next to the workpiece to suck up all the wood chips. But doesn't wood chip management system sound so much more professional? Well, you know what I always say, call it what you like, do what you will. And right now I'll have to just deal with the wood chips and brush them aside as need be. Looks like I forgot to use the awl on these two markings. Doesn't hurt to use the awl to put a little dimple for the drill bit to follow when you're drilling holes on the drill press. I don't know where you all live, but right after Thanksgiving, it began to snow, and it hasn't really let up since. It's not snowing today, but it's been in the 20s since Thanksgiving, and I don't like this cold at all. I've already had to fill up my diesel tank for the second time this season. And the way things are going, it looks like it might be a heavy diesel winter. But that's okay. It does the job. And for as much time as I spend in my wood shop, it's well worth it. I'm glad to see that some of the gas prices have come down and diesel along with it. Here you can see I'm transferring the hole positions from the aprons to the legs now. And once I've completed that, I'll take the legs over and drill the holes for the dowels as well. I make sure to label everything so that the legs and the aprons are paired up and they are part of an assembly so that I don't lose track of which apron goes with which leg and wind up with wacky joints. This jig here kind of helps me make sure that I've got the apron and the leg in the right position before I make the marks. So that's an added bonus to ensure that the accuracy will be there. If you're wondering about the apron and the legs that I'm showing you here being different from what you saw in the start of the video, they are different because these pieces that I'm working on here are actually the prototype. And this is what I use to establish my build to make sure that it's going to work out the way I want it to. I didn't want to use the actual wood to just start working on it and then not have it function the way I want it to or go together the way I want it to. So I use these pieces of scrap wood basically for a prototype to ensure that the build will be okay. And then I'll do it all over again. I'll make the legs and aprons a second time using the actual wood that I'll use for the finished product. You can see that we have a pretty decent fit. I'm satisfied with that. That's a flush fit, as they call it. There's no raised edge to catch your finger on. Doesn't get much better than that. And they're actually perpendicular. One more leg to drill, and then I'll be ready to transfer the dowel hole positions onto the centerpiece. Now this may be an unnecessary step, but I thought it would be fun to try it and see how it would come out. As you can see, I have my three-sided board here, and we're going to attach each leg to the face of those sides. So I'm transferring the hole position and labeling these to match each leg. Next, I'll take them to the drill press and do the drilling on those. Now, before you go and say, Raj, there's a simpler method that you could have used instead of cutting that three-sided board. Well, I realize that. I know that all I'd have to do is cut 45s on the ends of my aprons and then join them together at the center and glue them all together using a band clamp or a strap of some type. But I had an idea of doing this, and I was actually going to do something else in addition to that, and I changed my mind. So I just wound up with that three-sided center section, which, you know, I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun to work with, to build, and it could possibly lead to something else or a different design, and it's just the creativity playing out, and sometimes it's not about simplicity. It's about the enjoyment of expanding your creativity and trying different things and new things, and you never know, you might develop something that is really cool. So that's why we're doing it this way. If you had any questions or doubts about the setup or the design factor. So, and here's another view of the transferring of the dowel hole positions onto the three-sided board. Now it's time to cut the three-sided board. Put the dowel holes in their locations. And I have to make sure that that face is level in both directions. So I created this jig or fixture that I could set this three-sided board into. And if you'd like to see how I did that, there's a video for that on my channel as well. But it seemed to work out okay. And whether or not I'll attempt anything like this again, it's questionable. We'll see. But I was able to make it work, and I'm very satisfied with the fact that I was able to make it work, and therefore I'm happy. I hope you enjoy seeing me use the creativity and try different things in the woodworking process instead of the same old stuff that you see on some of the other channels. But as you can see, I'm installing the dowels, and we'll see how this fits together. It appears to be a good fit. And we can check it to see how perpendicular everything is and square. And there is the prototype dry fitted together to see how it looks. And now we're going to cut the actual legs that will be used in the build for the table legs for that slab. It is a spalted maple slab cookie, whatever you want to call it, that I'm using. So, and here you can see I cut down the three-sided board to just a little chunk, which will be used as the assembly piece in the center. And that's all I decided to go with at this time. So next we're going to put a taper on the legs so that they look a little dressed up, a little fancier than a blocky leg. As you can see here, I'm using my taper jig. If you've never used one of these, this is basically how you load the piece in. You have a mark here on the side, you line that up with the start of the cut, and then you have your mark at the bottom of the leg, and you line that up with the end of the cut so that you take off that slice like I'm doing right here. And it works really well. So you can see that that was butter. And then I've got a little bit of burning on the leg. So rather than sand it, I'm going to hand plane it, clean that up a little bit. And I'll do the same on all three legs versus sanding. I tried to do very little sanding on the legs. I think the finish comes out a lot better when you just hand plane it. You can get a nice shiny like finish sometimes from hand planing, in which you don't get the same thing with sanding unless you really go with the high grit number. Now it's time to assemble all the pieces. This is the actual leg assembly here. These are all maple boards. And like I said, I didn't buy these. These were repurposed, salvaged. And I'm going with a gel stain versus then a standard stain. The reason behind that is the legs are a little discolored. They don't match up. Two match up, and the third one doesn't match up perfectly. So I decided to go with the gel stain in black. a regular stain, it would still show being off. There wouldn't be a consistency of color. With this gel stain, you can put it on thin or you can put it on heavy. The heavier you put it on, the more opaque it is, and you won't be able to see the grain as much. And that's the consistency I chose. I tried to go with a heavier coat. I actually did 2 coats of stain on this. And now we're on to finishing the cookie, or the slab. I use figure 8 holders for the connection between the top and the legs. Now it's coming together. We're attaching the legs to the top. And it's going together nicely. I like the top because it's not a perfectly round shape. It's almost a heart shape slab, and I think that makes it unique. So centering it was just a little bit tricky, but I tried to get equal spacing on the outer edge so that it looks uniform. And there's the finished product right there. And I think it came out very nice, and it's a little different. I mean, it's a accent table. Thanks for watching.